Well, good evening. As we are here tonight to pray about missions and look at scriptural missions, we want to do an interview with Grady and Sandy Floyd about their Belize mission trips they've taken. And so let's just get right to it. Since I know you've taken many mission trips to Belize, how many trips have y'all taken so far?
Well, this is my 10th since 2012. And this was Sandy's sixth in the last few years anyway. And so it started off as a exploratory deal. I was with another church and we went down to check the place out. And I was immediately hooked. And so I just can't stay away for some reason. I believe in the ministry there and what they stand for, and the school itself that we go to is a really good active presence in the life of these boys. They take in about 18 new students every year. They keep about 30 on campus, and usually about 8 or 10 graduate every year. So every time we go, there's at least 16 or 18 new faces with that many new names to have to learn, and then just pour into them all we can while we're there.
As you already started talking about a little bit of an overview, tell us a little more about exactly what you do when you're down there, what Miss Sandy does, what maybe other people you see do, and just overall.
Of course, with my automotive background, I like to try to teach something specific to the boys. I usually try to take a project down and work with them on it. Usually some electrical work or something like that. If they have anything on campus that's broke down, usually I try to fix it while I'm there. Or really, I'm trying to get the boys involved with me and let them fix it, which is even better. The school itself is, the shop teacher is a pretty good mechanic on his own, but I've been able to kind of stretch his mind out and push him a little further than he's ever been. And so it's like the teacher teaching the teacher, but everybody wins in that situation.
What about you, Miss Sandy?
This is a boarding school. Down in Belize, it is mandatory for the children to go through primary school. And then after that, they have to pay to go to school. They try to get boys that are underprivileged to teach them skills, either woodworking or auto mechanics. So when they graduate, they'll have a skill to get jobs. Some of these boys don't really read and write very well. And in their schooling, they go through math, English, reading, and Bible. Sometimes I'll help teach classes. Sometimes I will tutor the boys after they come out of their class.
Okay.
And they have Bible every day, and we'll read with them with that. They have devotion every morning, because some of these boys aren't Christians.
Okay, so basically, in any given trip, you could do auto mechanics and maybe tutoring, but there's no limit to what could happen down there. Just working with these boys on a day-to-day basis.
The team that we went with or met down there is from Tennessee, and there was a dozen of those, and so 5 of the men left every morning and went to another church that was literally falling down over in Las Flores, which was about just 8 or 10 miles up the road, I think. And so in a week's time in the pouring rain, despite all odds, with extension cords that were just tore up and everything, they were able to rebuild the church and put a roof on it. And I really would like to have been a fly on the wall this past Sunday morning when they met for the first time with a almost new structure.
Well, you're starting to lead into my next question already. So tell me what other special things happened on this trip.
Well, like I said, we met with the team from Tennessee, and their plan was to go north. We usually go pretty much just west, back right to the school. Well, we went north to a community, San Jose, and there's a previous student who had gone through Bible school and Bible college and became a pastor, and he came to the States for a while, and he got in some trouble, and he had some issues and pretty much lost everything. And so he moved back to Belize, and God just really worked him over. And it was one of those but God moments for him. And so he started a little church there in town because really there wasn't one. And so he's heavily towards the alcohol and drug recovery type of program, and so he's very successful there. So we went with the Tennessee team to San Jose to their church on Friday night, and it's a little bitty block building that was literally wall to wall. There's no more seats, and most of it was in Spanish, and we didn't understand all the words, but we knew the music, and it was very vibrant. It was very loud, and there were some people praising God there. It was just awesome. The language barrier was okay because we knew that we were worshiping the same God. So then Saturday morning we went back for a backyard Bible school. And so there was, 30, 40 kids there or more. And so they did face painting and jewelry making and Bible stories and all that. It was just awesome, because the kids were just all into it. And then that afternoon, the ladies got together and had their own little powwow session. And us guys did some electrical work inside the church, hung up a couple fans and lights and stuff, got it all done. And then that night, they had another service Saturday night, and it was just special because they put on kind of a play, and it was about the sheep and the wolf. And of course, it was all in Spanish, but they had all the little kids dress up in little white costumes and come down the aisle, and they performed, and then the big bad wolf came in on his costume, and it was all in Spanish, and it was just awesome. It's something that I'd never seen anything like that before. And then after service, pastor already announced that he wanted all the men to stay around and we were going to get together. And so this was probably the most powerful part for me because there's 26 men, I think, locals, and we all sat in a big circle. And so Pastor Jose, he gets up and introduces each one of them, and he tells, he used to have a problem with, but he's doing better now. And this brother is his name, and he used to have a problem with, and on and on and on. So he identified each man there and what their issues were. And there's a scripture in the Bible about that. It says, confess your sins to one another. And that's what's happening there. And that's why he's successful. Because, the Spirit of God is all over that.
That they're having to add on to the church.
Yeah, they've added on twice, and this will be the third. And so, the Spirit of God is working there.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you are get a little bit excited about what's going on in Belize.
Yeah.
And so, with that, I'd like to go ahead and tell the church that we have a trip that we're planning for 2019 to be a church-wide trip. And with that, if you have any interest, come and see Grady or Sandy or myself, and so we can give a little more information about that trip. It should be an incredible time where you can see God work down there as well.
You were talking about putting a trip together, and there's a lot of different ways we can do a trip like we just came off of, where we go start off on a weekend and go off to another ministry like we did. There's another lady that we met there who is now working down south at an orphanage. And I'm sure it wouldn't be all that hard to do to get a group together and go down and visit her at the orphanage and work with those kids there and then go to the school. There's all kinds of opportunities there all over. Or that little church that they helped rebuild while we were there, go in there and do a vacation Bible school. Or, the opportunities are endless.
Right, that's what I was about to say.
Just show up on site.
Yeah.
And, really, if you talk to Frankie, say, look, we're bringing X amount of people, and we got this much time. What can we do for y'all? And he will definitely use you. First thing he said to us when we showed up there is, I'm going to feed you good, but I'm going to work you hard. And he did.
That's great. That's
And then one of the other things is being in a tropical setting, the buildings are wood. And over the 20, 30 years the buildings have been there, wood rot, termites, and stuff like that. So down the line, he wants to redo some of the buildings. So if somebody knows electrical or can do cinder block or any kind of carpentry or anything, any skill, like I'm a nurse. I don't do mechanics and stuff. Just loving on the boys. After the meals, we go and help them wash the dishes, dry the dishes, just one-on-one and talking to them. And
That sounds like some good stuff.
And there is no age limit because one of the Tennessee team was an electrician. He's really good. He's 77 years old. We celebrated his birthday while we were there. And he was nonstop. You couldn't hardly keep up with him. And he checked every light bulb, every light switch and socket in the whole campus. And he just had a great time. Hardly ever seen him because he's always busy.
Well, as we've talked about this trip and everything, what's one thing that we can do to pray for about the Belize missions?
the school's funded by donations, so the boys, they need sponsors to continue their education there at the school. You can sponsor a boy for $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever God leads you to do. And some of these boys are not Christians. They don't know God. So pray for their salvation, that they learn who God is and become a child of God.
And I think one of the things that is really about the school and what it produces is their motto is training boys to be men of God. And their verse is Jeremiah 29:11, which is, I know the plans that I have for you. And so each boy, most of them don't have a father figure in their home. So they stay at the school for 3 weeks at a time, and they go home for a weekend, and you just never know if they're going to come back. As a matter of fact, when we got there's some boys that just didn't come back, and so you don't know. So while they're there, they are protected, but when they leave, you just never know if they're going to come back or what's going to happen. And so that's my prayer, is that the boys would be well connected, and that they would stay at school and finish the program, because it really is worth it to them to leave there with something they can hang on to, and their salvation for sure.
And I would add one thing to that prayer list. Pray if God would have you go to Belize, to meet some of these boys, to build relationships. I talked to Grady and Sandy, and that's one of the things that they get to do. They build relationships with these young men for the purpose of sharing the gospel with them. So maybe you will be one of those that get to go and be that father figure or a motherly figure to them, and just be able to share the gospel for the glory of God. Thank you, and we're going to pray for Belize now.